All right, so I got an interesting question today. Now, aside from the fact it being unhinged, I want to ask: would Ranni from Elden Ring really make a good girlfriend? Let's debate. Let's figure it out. Now, this is not any perversion or internet thirst. This is sort of a lens, a peering into how games portray women, why players are drawn to certain characters, specifically Ranni or like characters like Millennia, and what games might accidentally teach us about relationships, love, and gender dynamics in general. Who is Ranni really, though? I mean, she's intellectually dominant. She's emotionally guarded. I think she's more so motivated by freedom as opposed to romance. She wants to do things of her own accord and upon her own volition, which I don't blame her for. We all want to act upon our own accords. She's willing to sacrifice everything or seemingly anyone, including gods, for autonomy and to be able to exercise that self-control. She doesn't seek companionship, more so she permits proximity. She'll put herself closer to certain individuals, or she'll allow herself to accept individuals coming into her inner circle so that she can accomplish goals that are unbeknownst to whoever is helping her. So I mean, that's already a red flag. It's not a green one. Well, it could be a green one depending on your perspective or what you're into. I don't know. Now, the trailer for Elden Ring, when it first came out, the story trailer specifically, it portrays the Knight of Black Knives and how the Black Knife assassins use that stolen rune of death to kill Godwyn the Golden. And that night was instigated by Ranni. So it already proves that she's calculating, and it can only bolster and be a testament to the fact that she probably is not a good fit to be your shorty. Probably not. Now let's make the case for having her as a girlfriend. We're going to talk from a general sense, and then I'll give my personal anecdotal opinion about it afterwards. So initially, she values independence. She isn't someone who's going to require constant emotional babysitting, wanting to be up underneath you all the time. She probably doesn't need that much attention, if any at all, because she's too busy with her schemes and her calculated nature and all of her things and what so have you. She respects agency above all else. She wants to be able to do what she wants to do when she wants to do it and doesn't want any control. And I don't blame her for that, because I would argue all of us want that, especially to some degree. She operates on mutual benefit. So you do for her, she'll do for you. She'll help you. In the game, you help Ranni achieve her goal, and then in turn, according to what ending you choose, you're able to become her consort. So she takes, but she gives as well. I think she represents, contrary to how I'm painting her, I do think she represents emotional maturity, long-term vision, because she's able to plan things. She's able to, scheme is the correct operative word, but she's able to foresee what things could be beyond just a superficial scope and lens. And she has quiet loyalty. She seems to demonstrate quiet loyalty over loud affection, if that makes sense. This isn't a girl who's going to be affectionate towards you, but she does seem loyal, because she gives a return on investment as opposed to just taking and taking and taking and taking and not giving anything back in return or in reciprocation. So that's the case for all the people, generally speaking, who would see her as a potential option. Me personally, the fact that she is that calculating, the fact that she wants to exercise that degree of autonomy and independence, that doesn't really coincide with my modality and my preferences for a partner, because me personally, I believe in traditionalism. I believe that if the guy's able and the girl's deserving of it, she should be taken care of. She should be protected and provided for. I like to be someone who can be a sort of a vessel to the outside world for the woman. So for example, if I meet a girl and she tells me, hey, I've been in this type of car before, I've traveled to this place before, I've done this before, I've done that, I'm going to hear that, and just the red flags are going to go off in my head like a Chinese parade. I'm going to be like, okay, this girl's not a fit for me. She is not compatible. I don't want to be with her. Now, I may not tell her. Well, I probably will tell her that because I'm very blunt. But generally speaking, most guys are not going to tell her that because they want to just get in her pants and then extract that from her as long as they can until she catches on to it. But me personally, I would probably tell her that's not something that I would go for. Now, if she tells me something along the lines of, oh, I've never done this before, I never did that before. Okay, now that's enticing. Now that's attractive because we want to be the vessel to the outside world. Well, me particularly, I would argue a lot of guys would agree with me, but I want to be the vessel. I want to be able to put you in a certain car. I want to be able the one to make you a stay-at-home mother. I want to be the one who takes you to this place, this travel destination for the first time. I want to be your frame of reference of your ideology, of your worldviews, of the interests you partake in, of the things you get, the greater things you get to experience in life. I want to be able to provide you these things. And with Ranni, I don't think that's something that you probably will be able to do efficiently, effectively, or at all, to be honest. Now, here's my favorite part why she shouldn't be your girlfriend. Ranni has an extremely avoidant attachment style, if I had to portray it to like psychology or human nature. She communicates in riddles, in subtones. She's indirect. She gives you half truths. She disappears. She communicates with disappearances, which is kind of reflective of female nature, so to speak. I can't even lie, because when it comes to women, they don't communicate as we do. We'll tell guys like, hey, man, you look like crap. Or we'll tell you straight up. We'll be far more direct in our analysis of certain things, whereas a woman may dance around it. She may sugarcoat things. She will communicate very indirectly with you. She could say something does not upset her when it clearly does, or she may not admit to that fact. And Ranni is very representative of that. And that in and of itself, I think, is one reason why she should not be a girlfriend. Secondly, she will absolutely put her mission above you, you know? And I think in a relationship, it should be the other way around, where the man, he puts his mission above the girl, because if he does that, the girl benefits. She benefits as a byproduct of that. What did I just say at the top of my anecdotal experience? I said that the guy should be the woman's vessel to the world and that he should take care of her, and she shouldn't have the option to work if you're able to provide that for her. If you're putting your mission first, that actively works toward that goal of making her a stay-at-home mother, because you're increasing your stature, you're increasing the amount of money that you earn, you're increasing your tangibility and your use and utility for her. Conversely, if she works on her goals more, it's only a matter of time before she is probably like, well, I can do better than this guy, or I'm better off alone. I'll just rule the lands between by myself. That's probably what would happen if you date Ranni. Another thing is emotional intimacy. Us as guys, I don't think we really need that much emotional stimulation in a relationship. Just be loyal. Don't be a headache. I think that's about it for most guys on the macro. You know, we don't really need you. We don't need to feel the love and all these things. Of course, we want to be respected. We want our girl to care about us and love us and cherish us. But generally speaking, I don't think we need as much emotional stimulation as a female does. But still, the fact that emotional intimacy is secondary to her is probably non-existent, to be honest. I think that's another red flag, because as a girl, we're going to want them to be clingy to some degree, or to want to be around us. Like, we kind of expect that. So that's normal. But if she doesn't behave in that way, it's kind of a turnoff, I think. So if I had to sum up what your dynamic would be with Ranni in a sentence, it would definitely be something along the lines of, you're not a priority, you're a collaborator. I don't think it's a matter of her being emotionally immature or emotionally unavailable. She's more so just emotionally uninterested. There's no interest there at all to pursue anything that even closely pertains to love or is representative of it. What many games will do is that they'll frame quote unquote strong women in a distant, unreadable, unattainable sort of light. They'll paint her in that sort of regard. And strength is often coded as emotional removal. They remove the feelings from the female to make it seem as if she is more masculine and she's more strong and more rooted in things that genetically and biologically she probably shouldn't be, or you wouldn't think she would be. So, and the players mistake that mystery for depth in her character, as if she's someone who has something far more to her than she actually does at face value. And these games reward patience, loyalty, and silence as opposed to communication. Because with Ranni, you're not going to get communication, which is why you should cherish and champion those aforementioned 3 points. Do games teach us to admire women who don't need us, or women who don't want us? I think players are drawn to Ranni's character, and probably to the idea of having her a girlfriend, fictionally speaking, you know, not unrealistically speaking, because she doesn't reject you, she tests you, and validation is earned through preservation and perseverance, you trying to preserve your life and your standing in the lands between, and simply by virtue of you trying to appease her and accomplish her quest line, that is validation that you acquire from her that I think is enticing to most people who play the game and interact with her, which is why I think her ending is so very popular and why her quest line is probably one of the longest ones in the game. I also think she mirrors real life romantic dynamics. You know, the emotional labor, the work you put into being with somebody. Like, it's hard trying things. That's why I can never be married. She also mirrors real world relationships and dynamics, because it's like these long-term proving arcs where you're continually trying to prove yourself to the girl, prove you're the best option. And that can get, while it's realistic, it happens in the real world, that can get tiring, you know? So in summation, I think a relationship with Ranni appeals to players who romanticize emotional distance and those who confuse a challenge with compatibility. Just because she's hard to get doesn't mean she's someone who's going to be compatible once you actually get her. So in summation, what do video games tell us about females holistically? I would argue that the first point is that women are not puzzles to solve. I think games try to picture them in a light that they aren't necessarily representative of. They'll put them in traditionally masculine roles, which I'm not saying is a problem, but that's what they'll do. And that in and of itself could serve as a puzzle. I don't think it's trying to show them in the light of which they want you to decode that puzzle. They just want you to see them from a different perspective. The second point is that them being independent, so to speak, isn't synonymous with emotional coldness. Just because Ranni, for instance, just because Ranni acts of her own volition and she prioritizes her own autonomy and her ability to be in control of her own destiny, that does not necessarily mean that she is an emotionally cold individual. That's something else that's trying to teach us. I think thirdly, I think it's that strength doesn't mean silence. Like if a girl is strong, it doesn't mean she's always going to be, if she's strong, so to speak, it doesn't mean she's going to be feminine. Quite frankly, she's probably going to take on more masculine traits and more masculine characteristics. Ranni, she's strong, but it doesn't necessarily mean she's going to be silent. And her silence is not rooted in the fact that she isn't speaking. It's rooted in the fact that she'll do things and move the world in which a way that you won't even know that the pieces are moving, and you're playing a game that you're not even aware that you're a part of. It's a type of silence, so to speak. And then lastly, I would say games often reward restraint and distance, whereas real relationships, they don't do that. I kind of like this format. I might do one for Millennia too. So final verdict, would Ranni make a good girlfriend in game? Maybe. In real life, no, she's a L. I think she's a major red flag. She's a powerful character, but she's not really a powerful candidate or someone you could use as a relationship blueprint. She's not a good candidate for a girlfriend, I don't think. Games don't just entertain us. They quietly teach us life lessons, and they teach us what we should tolerate, what we should admire, and what we should pursue. Ranni doesn't teach us how to love. She teaches us how easy it is to confuse emotional distance with depth. I'm Harlem. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.